I was out on one. Hello, welcome to our May 13th meeting of the Public Works and Finance Committee, regular meeting. We've got a full agenda, so we'll go ahead and get started. Item number one were our last minutes from Taylor before she went on leave from April 8th. They looked great. I skimmed through them. So looks like we are good to approve those. And then item two is disbursement report for April 2024 with Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. So looking at the accounts payable report for month ending April 30, 2024, major expenditures totaled $2,410,055.06. Our largest expenditure was payroll, which was $1,206,570. I actually only have one major expenditure to report, which was a payment for the booster stations phase 2. And that was $69,620.75.
And I would, we have a fuller audience today. I tend to ask lots of questions because I don't always recognize the contractor names. But in this case, our major expenditures are all things that I recognize. So I don't have any questions today. Anything from Gina or Sandra? Okay, beautiful. And are we comfortable approving as presented?
Yep. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you,
Great,
Sarah.
thank you.
Item number three, we've got a couple of public meetings, I guess just one public meeting on today's agenda, which is proposed lot line division located at 824 Logan Street with Amy. Hello, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you all for having me. As you stated, we do have a lot division today located at 824 Logan Street. Subject property is here, outlined in turquoise, just east of Logan Street, north of Lewis, right on the corner there. Current lot sits at just under 15,000 square feet at 14,828 square feet. The applicant is proposing to split this, creating a new lot of 6,488 square feet and leaving the current lot with the single family home at 8,341 square feet. This exhibit provided by the applicant showing the existing house meeting setback and the new vacant lot. Zoning is R3. Lot minimum within R3 is 60 feet for the right or for the width, and a lot minimum of 6,000 square feet. Setbacks are 15 feet in the front or 20 feet with a garage that faces the street, the rear setback of 20 feet, and the side combined total of 15 with no side being less than 5 and the street side of 13. All of the existing structures meet those requirements on the lot that will remain. And on the new lot, there is an accessory structure that does need to be removed prior to this being recorded. So for those reasons, staff is recommending approval with the condition that the accessory structure located on the new lot be removed in order to meet the zoning requirements. And I'd be happy to take questions you have.
I have one weird question.
Yeah.
So with the structure, I mean, it should be an easy fix, but what if it's not? Like, what if it becomes really difficult to get rid of that and it's a lot more expensive than the folks trying to get rid of it? What are there options, or just like, no, we voted it, it's got to go?
It would need to go to meet zoning code. I have talked with the applicants prior to this proposal, and they're comfortable with removing it.
Okay, thanks.
And Amy, my only question is with the setback requirements, and now that I'm remembering that the R3 zoning is required for 6,000 minimum, I'm sure they will still be able to put a decent sized structure on what would be the new lot. Okay, cool. Just didn't want them to be stuck with like a
Tiny house.
Yeah, well, I mean, and tiny houses work great too, but yeah, visually picturing what that setback does for that size. Any questions?
No, I think I kind of was feeling Sandra's question about the destruction or the removal, but thanks for checking it out ahead of time.
And so, Bill, keep me honest here. So we are, as it is a public meeting, we are able to take public comment if we so desire, correct? So we would normally have the applicant come forward if present.
Yeah, sure. Anybody who wishes to provide any comment to the committee, this is their opportunity. They've been provided notice. It'll be considered during a public meeting. And so I would encourage you to provide that opportunity.
I love it. Amy, sorry, my last question. With this subdivision, with the division of this lot, this new unit would have access off of Lewis Street. Is that right? Like, would they end up having a Lewis Street address?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
If you look here at the photo, so Lewis is a new, or Lewis is an existing street, so they would have that frontage. They could access off of the alley or access off of Lewis.
Excellent. Cool. All right, thanks, Amy. Would anyone like to come and provide public comment on this particular? Yeah, come on up. Introduce yourself, share where you're from. We'll have you come all the way up to the microphone and that way we can put it into our meeting minutes. But let us know what your address is and what your name is and share your thoughts.
Hammond, I'm at 714 Lewis. I'm one east exactly from them across the alley. I don't know if you guys have been on that part of Lewis Street,
Not in a while.
but it is very small, as you can see. There is no, basically, you can see a few cars that are parked along the edge there. We put that on the other side from each other, and we're on a one-way street. And my biggest concern is the parking,
Yeah.
and there's a little bit more traffic that we will have with that. So are they going to park where the present tenant there now parks under an awning? So are they going to be, because right now, with him and what he's renting there's sometimes 7 cars along that block. So if there's more that are going to park on the street, it really going to congest things.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
Amy, can you remind me, because parking's allowed on both sides of Lewis right now, right?
I can't remember if it's both sides. I will say that when there is a new structure erected, any single-family home is required to provide on-site parking.
Okay.
So they will be required to have their parking on-site if they construct a new dwelling.
Okay.
That I wasn't sure of.
That is a great question. That's why we need you here. So that way we get to look at all sides. Concerned about parking. Okay, groovy. And depending on the size of the residence, that scales up with the code for how many
Correct.
off-street parking.
It's 2 parking stalls per single-family dwelling with up to 4 bedrooms. Anything above that requires additional parking.
Okay, beautiful. You said your name was Steve, is that right? Love it. 2 parking stalls required off street. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else like to share any thoughts, considerations for this Logan Street division in front of us? Hello, please state your name and your place of residence for us, for the record.
Nils Peterson, Moscow Affordable Housing Trust, 510 West Pouce River Drive. You should do this. I've been looking at lots in that neighborhood and other places, and this will be a simple way to add density in that neighborhood, which will still, if it's another single-family house, it will be compatible with the structure of the neighborhood. If you go and look around there, there's all sorts of houses on all sorts of lot sizes. And so this is exactly the right thing to do.
Beautiful. Any questions for Nils?
Couldn't agree more.
Cool. Thanks, Nils. Appreciate it. Okay, for infill. Anyone else who would like to give comment for this? All right, so the proposed action in front of us, now that we've taken public comment, is to recommend approval of the lot division request with no conditions or with conditions or recommend denial. Deliberate, how do we feel?
Well, I guess I happen to agree with our last testifier. I do agree that this is the infill kind of stuff that we'd like. I am comforted by the fact that they will be required to do the 2 parking spots on site. And I guess I think that we ought to recommend approval.
100%.
Yeah, Steve, is that right? Thanks, Steve. So, I like that we've got residents who are interested in infill, and I also am mindful of the parking issue. But I don't have concerns knowing that within the code, if they would have to ask for a variance if they weren't able to provide, right, to parking spots off street. And what I would encourage our neighbors to do, we do have code enforcement, and so I think it's 48 hours if a car stays in the same location, it can be ticketed. And so I know that can be tricky with rentals, especially when college kids are in town. But I was nervous that I couldn't remember if it was giving access only off of the alley or on Lewis. And so I'm feeling better that it is a named street. So I'm game to recommend approval as presented
With the condition of removing that building.
with the thank you for keeping me
Yeah.
honest, with the condition as presented from staff to remove the Looks like it's like a one-car garage on the lot. Okay. Let me think. So this satisfies a public meeting requirement. Can it go on consent? Does
Yes.
it- Okay. Do we want it
Yes,
to go
I
on
think that'd be
consent?
great.
Okay.
Yes.
We will put it on consent agenda. Beautiful. Okie
Big fan of
dokie.
consent.
Me too. Yeah, last meeting was a lot. Okay, item number 4, also with Amy, is proposed lot line adjustment of lots 1 through 4, block 3 of Paradise View Edition.
Okay, so this one, as you stated, is block 3, lots 1 through 4 in Paradise View Edition. This is a lot line adjustment rather than a lot division, so we're just adjusting the existing lot lines. Subject property here is in the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust property that you're probably familiar with, east of Nursery Drive and north of Palouse River Drive. Current lots, lot 1 is just under 3,000 square feet, lots 2 and 3 just over 2,000 square feet, and lot 4 is 2,793 square feet. The applicant is proposing to adjust the lot line between lots 1 and 2 by 1 foot, the lot line between lots 2 and 3 by 4 feet, and the lot line between lots 3 and 4 by 7.5 feet. This would result in lot 1 being just under 3,000 square feet, the 2 in the middle, just roughly over 2,250 square feet each, and lot 4 at 2,313 square feet. This is an exhibit showing what we just talked about. These are R4 lots, and so within the R4 designation, twin homes require 25 feet of frontage with 2,250 square feet minimum. All lots meet these, meet the lot minimums for the R4 zoning designation, so it is staff's recommendation today to approve the lot line adjustment with no conditions. And I will again take any questions you might have.
Any questions from Amy before, are we able to invite the applicant if we need to?
If you wish to, but
If
it's,
we have any questions?
I don't know, just, my question is, not super important, but why a foot?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I'm just curious.
It's so that they would, so they meet the minimums for townhouses,
Okay, thanks.
for twin homes, I'm sorry, not townhouses.
That's rational.
Yeah, I'm happy to see. Nils, would you like to come and add any color?
Oh, they have lots of color. Red and green. Nils Peterson, Moscow Affordable Housing Trust, 510 West Palouse River Drive. My mistake, $2,000 lesson learned.
Oh, no.
Oh, shoot.
I designed those lots for townhomes. I designed the townhomes to go on those lots. The hillside tilts this way and this way, and the amount of concrete, the bid was, this is pre-COVID when things were cheap. The bid was shocking. And I asked the contractor, how come so expensive? He says, all that concrete. So I worked with Drew's class, and they did it as a class project. Each student, there were probably 15 or so, designed it. And I said, either a twin home or a townhouse. And what I've learned in the architecture student, when they do a big project like that, is nothing they do will be usable, but there will be clear, big ideas.
Yeah.
And all of the twin home designs were better than the townhouse designs. And the thing that I saw was the twin homes were going to need a lot less concrete because you could do one level up here and one level down here and let the hillside slide down rather than having to build the retaining walls that step the houses down. So a lot less concrete.
Great.
So then I set about designing the house to sit on that lot, new set of twin homes. And the right size house for various other reasons was 1 foot too big for the upper lot. And the middle two lots did not meet twin home standards. They met townhouse standards. So to get the land to make everybody legal to do twin houses, it rippled all the way down the hill.
Love it.
Sorry about that.
Thank you for your due diligence. Yeah.
That was some good color too. Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate that.
Okay, any remaining questions for the crew?
No,
All right, so the proposed action in front of us is to recommend approval of the lot line adjustment request or other, if we need to put any,
Say no other.
no other? No other? All right, I'm also comfortable recommending approval as presented. Consent
Ooh, love
agenda.
that
All right. I
consent.
love it. I do have a sidebar question. I don't remember if we have Affordable Housing Trust slated to come give an update or if we've done one with Nils previously at council. This is not the reason to have Nils come to a meeting, but
We don't have one scheduled, no.
It wasn't that long ago.
yeah, it all runs together. Maybe sometime before calendar year, I would love to hear from Nils if it's appropriate to have him come and share progress and vision. I love it. Okay, and then item number 5, also with Amy, is proposed lot line adjustment for lots 1 and 2, block 10 of Eddington First Additional Subdivision.
All right, now, yes, Block 10, Lot 1 and 2, Eddington First Edition. This also is a lot line adjustment rather than a lot division. This is subject property in the newly platted Eddington First Edition. These are the lots here. Lot 1 currently sits at 63,000, just over 63,000 square feet, and Lot 2 is 34,040 square feet. The applicant's proposing to adjust that lot line to the northeast to reduce Lot 1 to 36,560 and increase Lot 2 to 58,585. This is an exhibit showing that. As you can see, there's an existing sewer easement right here. That will need to be extended so that it can service Lot 1. Those lots are zoned RO for residential office. The lot minimums for RO are 5,000 square feet in area and 50 feet of width. Front setback minimum is 10 feet with a rear of 20 and the sides a combined total of 15 with no side being less than 5. Both of these proposed lots meet the requirements for the RO zone. Staff's recommendation today would be to approve the lot line adjustment with the condition that the 20-foot easement for the sewer line be extended to provide service to Lot 1 and be recorded with Latah County. And again, I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
I love it. Any questions for Amy?
How's the topography out there right now with all the moving and
You know, I haven't been out
Yeah,
to
that's
really
okay.
assess it. When they go to build a proposed building, that'll all be addressed.
Great.
The extension is the responsibility of the developer?
Correct.
Okay.
And other than the sewer, there's no other impact to the city and our plans right now, right? Okay, groovy. I drew really bad squiggles that seems like the hot dog fold wasn't going to do them a whole lot of favor, so it makes sense that we're now looking at a hamburger fold division for those 2 lot lines. See my squiggles?
Are you hungry? Is that part of it?
Don't
I
remind
think
me.
I might be a little hungry.
I love it. So, how do we feel about recommending approval of the lot line adjustment
Yeah.
with this condition? Okay, I love it. And okay to go on consent?
Yes.
Okay, I love it. Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you. You too.
Okay, we got item number 6 of 11, I think. So item 6 is Camp Muscawana alcohol use request and entertainment district with Amanda Argona. Welcome, Amanda.
Good afternoon. So in your packets, you should have a draft resolution for Camp Muscawana. And this is pretty standard alcohol use resolution put on by the Moscow Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center, one of 3 downtown events that they do in the entertainment district. The event is being held on June 15th and between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Main Street. The event itself was approved mid-March, and we're presenting it to this body for consideration. Pretty standard request. Happy to go over anything application-wise that might be in your packet, but the applicant is also here to speak to the event itself, should you have questions for them, but this is pretty standard protocol.
My only question, and I know I've asked this before and I just don't remember the answer. Recycling glasses, like you get I feel like I have 8,000 downtown glasses and my mom's going to be really angry if I bring more home.
Yeah, so I know in your packet, you probably saw the glassware that will be used. It's a kind of a pint glass style with the branding on it. I'd be happy to invite Elise up to speak about if they have plans. I've heard inklings of aluminum cups to help with that recycling disposable component. But at this point in time for this event, yes, it will have specific glassware. I hear you on the collection.
I knew you would.
And But I know that the chamber is looking at other options.
Elise,
It's a
come
lovely
on down.
problem to have.
Yeah.
Well, and if I remember right, we're working through the stash. The royal we is working through our stash of ordered branded goods, right? Before
Yes.
being able to switch over.
We are currently looking at doing aluminum glassware instead. It's
Good.
12 ounces, not only to help with vendors have kind of a better amount to pour, but also for that recyclability. And we always work with Recycle Center to have recycle bins there. We do have glassware, and anyone who does have glassware, we highly recommend bring them to the chamber, and we'll either recycle them for you and take them to the store or use them for future events.
I love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do love that problem, by the way.
Yeah.
It is a good
Right?
problem.
It's
I
a
like the
great
mason
problem.
jar more than the Stein because it can actually fit in my cabinet selfishly. So
And it's super cute. It's
it's
summertime.
super cute.
Oh my God.
Thanks.
I
Yeah.
love it. Thanks, Elise. Any other questions for Amanda or the chamber?
Nope.
All right. I am comfortable recommending approval of the resolution as presented.
Me too.
Me too.
Comfort all around and okay to go on consent agenda?
It is.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Amanda.
Amanda.
Thanks, Elise. Item number 7, proposed amendment to solid waste franchise agreement to add 200 and 300 gallon containers with Tim Davis. Hello, Tim. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. Before you today is an agreement providing for the amendment to Exhibit G of the solid waste franchise agreement to include 200 and 300 gallon poly containers for both waste and recycling services. Some of you may be familiar with or seen these types of containers in your travels to other cities. The containers are very similar in shape to a flower pot, but obviously much larger.
Probably don't smell as nice, to be honest. Yeah.
The 200-gallon waste containers are essentially the same size as a one-yard metal dumpsters currently in use, which are serviced by a front-load truck. These poly containers will be serviced by the automated side-loading trucks that are currently used to service our 35, 65, and 95-gallon roll carts. We currently have a good number of one-yard dumpsters located outside of the business district, which requires a front-load truck to travel out of their way to service these. By replacing these out-of-the-way one-yard dumpsters with the 200-gallon poly containers, we gain some efficiencies by having the automated side-load trucks service the 200-gallon containers while they're already in the vicinity servicing roll carts. The 200 and 300-gallon poly recycling containers will also add options, particularly at multifamily complexes. As you may recall, following the most recent rate study, we formed a multifamily recycling group to address some of these issues that we were experiencing with that sector of the customer base. The 200 and 300-gallon poly containers became a consistent topic of discussion by the work group and was considered by the group to be a positive additional option for multifamily recycling. Staff has reviewed the proposal submitted by Inland North Waste and believes it is fair and equitable in cost for the provision and servicing of the 200 and 300-gallon containers. In your packet is an amendment to Exhibit G of the solid waste franchise agreement to include a service and container replacement costs from the city to the franchisee. The customer service rates for these new containers will be included in the FY 2025 fee resolution in advance of the launch of the new containers this fall. Questions?
So it's that part that I am the most curious about. Like, what kind of increase are we looking at fee wise to switch everything out or to switch most out?
The recycling costs are going to be comparable. I tried to base them based on volume and the service costs. So they're going to be very comparable. Switching the 200-gallon poly containers for a one-yard metal dumpster, the customer's going to see approximately a 35% decrease in cost.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
that's good.
And INW again gains efficiency by
Yeah.
being able to hit those outliers with their, the regular routing truck.
When I used to live on A Street and watching the front loaders have to navigate some of those yard waste spots was it's entertaining, but I don't envy those drivers. My only question, and I don't know if Brandon, if you want to join or not, I'm having flashbacks when we first rolled out the new bins in town, the new recycling bins, and they arrived and the color was just too close to the garbage ones. And so my only concern is, are we feeling good about whatever this color split between, the new colorway for the 200, 300 gallon ones will do if they're going to be parked side by side for multi.
City is going to request that the 200 gallons waste containers be blue in color, similar to the blue dumpsters, and we'll keep the recycling containers green,
Love
like
it.
the current recycling containers,
sense.
both with black lids.
And will our folks have to, it sounds like we've already got kind of a vision for what the target demographic will be for this swap and the low hanging fruit. Is it going to, do you have to opt in? Do the property managers have to opt in, or will it just magically swap in overnight?
On the garbage side, I think if we present that right to the customer, they're not going to refuse a 35%
kidding.
discount.
Yeah.
As far as recycling, I think it just adds option, especially to the multifamily housing units. So instead of having to have 6 or 8 of the smaller roll carts, I could possibly get by with 2 or 3 of these larger ones and take up less space, especially being that the roll carts have to be placed 3 feet apart.
Right.
And that's the problem with the multifamily housing units is primarily parking and just space for these carts. So I think it'll help.
That sounds great.
And how do we plan to roll this, assuming it's approved and we go through everything? How do we plan to communicate this to I'm guessing multifamily will be our easiest in some
We'll
ways.
reach out to the folks with the 1 yard dumpsters first for
Right.
the waste containers. And then as far as the recycling containers, we can get the word out to a lot of the property management companies.
Awesome.
Many of them served on that work group, so they are aware that this
They're
was
ready.
coming.
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you anticipate any pushback at all?
I don't know why we would.
Yeah, we're going to give you a discount and.
Yeah. But wait, there's more.
Thanks,
Yeah. Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's great. And I appreciate that we did the work group. I don't know that where I've been the last X amount of time, but I think that's very smart and a good way to solve a problem. So, all right. Awesome.
Sounds like we are recommending approval as
Yes.
presented.
Mhm.
And I don't think we need to give staff further direction. You guys got it covered. Are we okay with this going to consent agenda?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
great.
fine.
Great consent agenda. Sounds
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, item 8 of 11. Rolling Hills 10th edition final plat with Mike Ray. Hello, Mike. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
See you.
So before you today, we have Rolling Hills 10th edition. This is the final plat review. 6-acre property, I'm sure you're familiar with. So pretty much just the extension of the existing Rolling Hills additions. 3rd Street actually has been constructed up to the subject property and will be extended here to the northeast. As current city limits boundary is reflected after our last round of annexations, last council meeting. Ryan Lane is also stubbed to the property as well, here to the south. And we have Atani Drive and Panorama Drive here to the east. So it is a 6-acre area. There was a plat to create 20 lots ranging from 7,017 square feet to 12,376 square feet in size. December 5th of 2022, City Council approved the preliminary plat for Rolling Hills 10th edition with no conditions. And then December 5th of 2023, the applicant submitted the final subdivision plat to be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And then P&Z ended up reviewing the final plat, recommended approval to City Council, and that occurred January 24th of this year. So it brings us to the final plat. You can see the extension of 3rd Street there. This is the Mosier Park property, so it's about 5 acres in size, so it'll provide access to the park. And then you see Ryan Lane coming in from the south as well. Oops.
And that's it.
And then of other note, there's a pedestrian easement currently constructed. So there's a set of stairs and sidewalk that'll be extended just to provide some pedestrian access to the park property as well from Panorama. So staff's reviewed the final plat for conformance with city and state code requirements, found it to be in conformance, therefore recommending that the committee recommend approval of the final plat for Rolling Hills 10th edition to city council with no conditions.
Recommending that we recommend.
What
Recommending.
do you recommend we do, Gina?
I recommend.
My only question I have, I'm really intrigued by the lots 1 and 2 that jog into what would have been like a more rounded parcel. And I'm guessing it's just tied to ownership and when Mosier Park was identified and stuff, because those guys are going to have a sweet gig, right? Be surrounded on 2 sides by park. But I'm guessing what am I trying to ask? I am positing that it is likely that those lots are there kind of off the jog just because of the nature of how Mosier Park was allocated, right? And then this was a separate owner. And so they just were squeezing in more lots where we can.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, I believe there's a master plan of the whole Rolling Hills subdivisions. And so I think it was just a result of that planning out for this development and
Yeah.
the park as well. So.
I love it. Glad to see the
good.
pedestrian access.
Me
Yeah.
too.
No concerns from me.
Nope, not a
Kate,
bit.
love it.
Well,
Go for it.
yes, all of that, but with that pedestrian access and stairs, who, if anyone is responsible for making sure that they're clear of snow and ice and safe and all those things?
Generally, we close those during the winter months.
Great.
So we will chain them and sign them as being closed because we do not maintain them.
That
And
was what I
most of the adjacent property owners do not as well. So typically we'll
Okay.
close those during the winter months.
Love that. Thank you.
And for what it's worth, the signage on the A Street stairs down from what is now the cul-de-sac, the signage is great.
Yep.
The neighbors, we would all just take turns shoveling. So
Yeah.
maybe it's a manner of nudging our friends and neighbors when they all get moved in and settled to say, hey, if you want access to the park, let's all take care of it. I love it. Okay. How do you feel about recommending approval as presented?
Yes.
I love it. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 9.
Would you like that on consent?
Oh,
or written
sorry.
agenda?
Consent sounds great to me. Okay, love it. Thanks,
you.
Mike. Item 9, memorandum of agreement for Rolling Hills 10th edition with Todd Drage. Hello.
Feel the pattern.
It's all related.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
All right. Mike did a great job of providing all the background for this one. This item is the memorandum of agreement for the Rolling Hills 10th edition developer participation. The Rolling Hills 10th borders Mosier Park, and so this agreement is sort of formalizing some of the legalese and boilerplate from an agreement that was made years ago. Construction is anticipated this year, and with that extension of 3rd Street, there's approximately 540 linear feet adjacent to the city's Mosier Park. During a previous edition, the city agreed to pay 1/2 the cost of public improvements for streets contiguous to Mosier Park. And so this is just a snippet of that previous development agreement. That includes the street section and all the utilities. And so we've worked up a figure with the developer. We requested, in addition to the typical improvements that they provide, parking adjacent to the park and then a pathway. If you've been out there, it's kind of the topography. We don't know if we'll be able to parking lot. It still hasn't been planned, but this just kind of allows it to be used in the near term. So some of that is fully funded cost from the city for that bump out. And so I have a quick picture of that. It provides 6 to 7 parking spaces. We were able to get a handicap parking space in the far west there. And then there's that 8-foot pathway down into Mosier Park. And so
Where's the best bike access on this?
best bike,
Yeah.
in what regards?
Well, like I'm just seeing a bunch of lines and my eyes are getting a little googly. I'm not gonna lie, right? Because I'm kind of old. But like if I'm on a bicycle, how am I getting to the park from like my house?
Oh,
my
sure.
house
Well,
there.
there are bike lanes on 3rd Street, and then
That's. Oh, I got you. Okay, the map was this way before I got it now.
yeah. So I'm sorry. The park is up here, and then 3rd Street continues. Here's Ryan Lane, and so you would take these bike lanes.
Yep. No, it
essentially
just
to
took you a
there.
second to get oriented on that.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, there's no, that's just kind of a snippet of the plans, but there is right there's a pedestrian ramp from that spot, and you can that'll get you on the sidewalk, and then that'll get you into that
Thanks.
pathway. And so with that, this is a memorandum agreement that we've used for other similar projects. And so we recommend that you recommend approval of the MOA and the associated $299,948 of developer participation funding. And I can stand for any questions you have.
So this is a little bit unusual because this was not just a required parkland dedication, but the city actually purchased property back in the 90s to expand the park size. And it's because of that purchase that we agreed back in the 90s to share in that frontage cost. So typically, if it was a required parkland dedication, the developer is required to fund all the public improvements in that
Right,
frontage.
right.
But this was a combination of property we also purchased. So we are a property owner in addition to other dedications that we consolidated to try to get a larger park.
Okay.
That's good to know.
And
We
the
had been aware, we've been planning for this. It's been in our capital improvement plan for the last 5 years in anticipation of the subdivision coming. So the cost ended up slightly less than what we had budgeted and planned for. So that was good too.
wow. And that 299, that's our cost. We don't get to split that.
Yeah, that's after it's been
All right.
split. And so,
I was hoping that was not your answer.
I mean, if you want to split it with this, that.
Yeah, I'll just have to write that check.
Write you a check.
Penny drive.
sure.
Penny drive.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I've got no concerns. Thanks for doing the due diligence. And how do we feel about recommending approval of the MOA with Itani Land Development 4?
Yes.
Love it.
Can we consent it?
And
Yes,
can it be consent?
sure
All
we
right,
can.
groovy. Love it. And item 10 of 11, we've got Rolling Hills 10th Edition Development and Monumentation Agreements. Also,
Mouthful, yeah. So, this is sort of these typical agreements. The development agreement for this one, it being a pretty basic subdivision, has all the standard boilerplate development agreement, like public improvements, requirements for public improvements, security for those improvements, and the 1-year warranty period, and then things like the requirement of as constructed drawings. The specific language that we put in development agreements is there's no phasing being requested here. It's small enough. And then the parkland dedication was dedicated in the previous edition. So there's nothing there. So this is a pretty standard agreement. The monumentation agreement, as you know, state code requires that pins be set at final plat. That's tough to do because it's not built yet. And so we're able to do an agreement and collect a security so that the city can go and set those pins if needed in the future. And so with those two items, staff recommends that you recommend approval of both agreements. I can stand for any questions you have.
And for me.
Zippo.
love it. And I guess, yep, nope, that's great. I was going to ask, is it normal to still split? But I was still stuck on the 50-50 split from the last one, as far as if that's normal to have both parties do the 50-50 split, share with the city. And I've got no concerns. So it sounds great. How do you feel about recommending approval of the development and monumentation agreements?
Great.
Groovy. Any
Consent.
Yeah, consent.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. And item 11, Todd staying put for Moscow Home Depot Development Agreement.
All right, this is another development agreement. As you know, the development agreement is kind of that mechanism we have anytime they're doing public improvements to just kind of work out, making sure everything's done cleanly. For the Home Depot project, since Mike didn't do the precursor like Rolling Hills, I provided a location and background slide. The Moscow Home Depot, which will be located at 271 Farm Road, is located, shown here west of Farm Road, kind of at that A Street extension. As proposed, it's about 110,000 square foot of the main store and 28,000 square foot of the garden center, with a parking lot with approximately 384 spaces. As a requirement of that development, that will be extending A Street approximately 810 feet to the west on the northern property line there, the northern sight line, and I have some slides that I can show you following here. In addition, they'll be widening the sidewalk along Farm Road from 5 foot to 10 foot because it's an actual pathway. And then they will be constructing a couple of stormwater ponds, one for private water on A Street, and then one for private water from their development and one for public water on A Street.
Give me landmarks here. I'm struggling.
So this is the mall here,
So that is due to
Thank you.
Coach Empire Mall, and so this is right behind Winco.
All right.
So A Street and Farm Road there.
Thank you.
Yep. Where's the parking? Is that just all one blob
We'll
of
go-
parking and building?
Yeah, we'll go this next one here. So here's the project zoomed out with those main components. So there's the actual development, and then there's the extension of A Street. There's a public water, stormwater detention pond, and then there's another slide that shows the improvements. But here's the walk from Farm Road or along Farm Road, and then this will be their stormwater detention pond that they'll own and operate, and it actually discharges to Farm Road. And so parking on the Farm Road side, and the store kind of faces Farm Road.
I had a question about, I'm not used to seeing public versus private detention ponds. Is the public aspect Home Depot being willing to, just knowing that the topography is going to change, that's one of the public improvement things that they'll end up doing in addition to their own private? I guess I'm not used to seeing it as public and private and having two on site.
It is typically like when a subdivision is constructed, there's the stormwater for these large commercial, and then each commercial site's required to do their own. So it's not done at the same time. So that is done in these larger subdivisions. In a residential subdivision, the city does that. Everything gets funneled to that public stormwater pond. Here, they're required to operate and maintain their own. So when we're able to separate them, it just makes it a lot cleaner for their process and our process.
Yeah.
So
Where's the main traffic for the large trucks that'll be coming in and dropping off wares? Will that be on the Farm and West A, or is that on another? Are they coming around the back way?
yeah, it's all coming up Farm, and then in A, there's two approaches, one to the front of their building, and then there's this one here to the back. This road here is just being kept open. It's the existing road that goes up to the University of Idaho Dairy Farm. So this actually isn't part of the project. In fact, these are fill lines, and I think there's 15, 20 foot of this is on a bench up here. And so there's actually a retaining wall along this whole area.
My main source of concern is really there on West A with all the college traffic. I mean, I drive that almost every day, and it gets busy enough as it is with the semi trucks there. I don't know what it means, but it is a source of concern for me with a lot more traffic. And I mean, you've got a lot of pedestrians there, you have a lot of bicycles there, you have a lot of dog walkers there every single morning, and that seems potentially awful.
There will be increased traffic as a result of this development, but there are some improvements to that intersection. And they're including a drop lane, which has those islands. If you can see, I think I have some.
Oh, I think I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, which allows for pedestrian refuge from over those longer stretches. And so here is a little more zoomed in of the site itself. You can see the parking lot. There's a pathway that goes to little.
I wondered what that was. Thank
there.
you.
Yeah. Here's a high-level landscaping plan. So you see the landscaping buffer around. You see landscaping in trees in the islands, and then there's street trees on both sides of A Street. There's also trees around their pond. And then here are the public improvements. So A Street extends along the development.
How much more widening on that road is there going to be on that area where you turn in?
Where at?
I guess it would be at A, and then on A.
Farm.
A and Farm. So currently we're requesting that they dedicate the full 90-foot right of way for A Street, and then Farm Road was 70 feet. And so when we have and those are both minor arterials, so when we have these developed, we request additional right of way. So right now Farm Road is, I believe, 34 feet wide, and then A Street will be the same thing. So it'll be two 12-foot travel ways, two 5-foot bike paths, curb and gutter, and then the 8.5-foot green strip, and then an 8-foot sidewalk, which is the minor arterial standard in these areas. And so
And we've got on A already, so it would just
keeps going out.
And people can come into parking lots in 2 different areas. Is that right? Like from A and then from down below?
No, it's just off of A. Yeah, the one down below that road is just for their dairy.
Yeah, there's just too much grade to have access. The applicant did perform a traffic impact study. It met acceptable levels of service. Long-term, our goal is to put a roundabout at that intersection, just for the long-term capacity. We've looked at both A and Baker and A and Farm as being locations. We couldn't require that of them because their improvements at the intersection with some of the slip lanes were adequate to maintain adequate levels of service. In future developments, as A Street extends and connects up behind War Bonnet, I think long-term, we'd like to go with a roundabout in that location. We just couldn't make the applicant responsible for that additional cost.
So Todd, I just want to ask a clarifying question. It's going to be retaining wall flush with Farm Road and on the back side of Winco?
Yeah,
That's what
there
they'll
are.
need to do to, okay. to
Yeah, it's
get
a
the
big
site
bench
footprint.
there, and so there are retaining walls there.
So it's a combination of slopes and walls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I drive by the Grove in Pullman every day and.
Well, it's nothing like that.
Great.
Yeah,
Love that.
that's huge.
And also they did it with like what looks like the landscaping bricks. So I get very nervous when we talk about anything taller than.
I think most of this is slope grading, correct?
It is there will be walls, kind of that darker area right along here are some walls.
Okay.
And so they're still in the process of designing those. They're doing a deal where the contractor actually designs them. So we haven't seen those yet, but there's a lot of ways you can do it. But it is sloped for most of it, and then there will be some retaining walls on this corner here.
I don't understand enough of the civic engineering side of this, but what I am curious about, I see the jog on the slight little wiggly worm for A Street, and I'm curious if it's in, I can't remember if it would have been in like our, 20-year or comprehensive plan, if A Street had always planned to kind of do a little jiggy jog, given the topography.
Yeah.
And
So I mean, you're just looking at the overall curvature of that slope
Yeah.
around the corner. Yes, it always had some curve to it. They did
Okay.
modify that slightly to fit their site design, but
And
it
as it
always was
said-
going to be sweeping up to the north. And
because it
and
has to
was-
jog a little bit to meet with what's.
And it was
behind
really
the
trying
wall, right?
to, I think in the master plan we did, it was also trying to get development depth on the south side of
Okay.
the road. So it was swinging to the north in order to create that pad opportunity
That makes sense.
for future development.
Do we have an idea of how much traffic impact we expect to see there from the store? being
Yes,
put in?
it was documented in the traffic impact study.
I shouldn't see it.
I mean, is it? And so what we would do before our pie in the sky eventual roundabout at A and Farm would be to convert it into a four-way stop, or would one direction have the right of way? I can't remember what we're looking at.
This currently is optimized, and so it would be stop controlled north to Farm, and then the right is yielded. So northbound right is yielded, and then the same heading from west to east.
Okay.
And so they put this drop lane there to allow these to yield, and then this will be stop controlled. So,
So A would still have the,
excuse me, this isn't stop
Priority.
controlled. This is stop controlled. This straight. This is yielded, and then this is stop controlled heading south.
okay,
And A Street's free flowing east-west.
Yeah.
great. That's the question I imagine I'll get from all the more. Gives you like 45 seconds versus going third if you're going across town. So people don't want to lose those 45 seconds. Okay. Excellent. Other questions, thoughts, feelings?
One thing to point out is we did request that they do a bus pullout here for future
Love
bus.
that.
So we have a bus pullout similar to what's up in Walmart with the bus shelter. I don't know if this will be included in the current transit plan. I think they plan on not doing that at the moment until they they see more need for it. But it is there for future use.
Nice.
Love that. I see we have some friends in the audience. What I was going to just add for procedural sake. So, Bill, this is the first time that we are seeing this. We know that Home Depot held their community outreach meeting in winter, maybe. I can't remember when they had their meeting at the Best
Like
Western.
February.
That sounds right. And so just for clarity's sake, so this is not an ask for any different zoning than what's already been placed, right? This is an
No,
acceptable
this
use
this
for
is just a
everything here.
formality. The plans have essentially already been approved for construction.
Okay,
They're starting grading, I think, relatively, I'm not sure if they started yet, but they're starting.
Stripping topsoil, they had their erosion site control stuff out. So
So this is just the means for us to make sure we have the security for the completion of the public improvements.
Right.
That's all this document does,
Yeah.
is that they'll furnish a $3 million security so that we can issue the structure permit before they complete all the public improvements. So the only reason really for the need of a development agreement is technically, and this kind of, when you're looking at a subdivision plat, generally all the public improvements have to be completed prior to the sale of lot,
Sure.
prior to the issuance of building permits on the lots. And so if a developer wants to have building permits issued before the completion of the public improvements, then they provide a security.
Okay.
And so this agreement provides for that opportunity for the security to allow the permit issuance and to ensure that all the required public improvements, the $3 million of
They're
improvements
on the
are
hook for it.
completed.
Okay.
And so that way we can issue the building permit for the construction.
Okay. That helps. Thank you. And I just wanted to share for the avid viewers at home. And I know that our friends at Pullman Radio News had mentioned something, that this is not our hearing to say yes or no to the development, because it is zoned, it is an acceptable use in the zone. And what we have in front of us is just the development agreement for the share of public infrastructure. Okay. Any other thoughts, feelings, questions? Thank you for adding the bus lane now. It's always easier
Yeah,
to
sure.
plan for it now versus ask for it later. Okay, let's see. So are we recommending approval as presented of the development agreement with Home Depot USA, Inc.?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want it on consent or regular?
I prefer consent.
I hear you preferring consent. My only concern is, since
We've already had public hearings on it. We've already had the notice. People already know what it looks like.
I hear you, I'm hesitant.
I mean, the city, this is only providing for that security. There's
Yeah.
it's not,
I know,
Consent is the right way to go.
It is.
I
the
hear you
right
on
way.
consent being the right way to go. I guess I'm concerned that we will have people who will feel like that we didn't do due diligence because it's a 4 PM meeting on a Monday and not on the full agenda.
They're going to anyway,
Yeah.
because we've already gone through it.
I hear you. I mean, I get it 2-1 as far as to wanting it on consent. What is our next agenda looking like? Out of idle curiosity, where this would end up if we didn't want it on consent, if I had persuasive powers.
so we've got a couple items on regular, but not much. I mean, pretty much everything today went on consent.
Okay. My logic is, I know that there have been public hearings, but we know time and again that anytime there are public hearings, someone ends up, we can't make everyone happy, but someone ends up feeling surprised. I'm torn because I don't want to give someone false hope that there is another remaining window for an appeal or something to the use
Then
and
we should put it
approval.
on
That's,
consent.
you just answered your own question.
You did. And I don't want us to,
I'm not trying to clank it
No, I
over,
hear you.
sorry.
I hear you.
yeah, this is not the opportunity.
All right. So with that, we will place item 11 with a recommendation to approve on consent agenda for the next meeting. Thank you, Todd. Anything from staff or the team before we adjourn?
Nothing else today.
All right, groovy. We are adjourned. Thank you.